I don't feel like it's a coincidence that when we go through a traumatizing breakup, it usually comes around the same time that we're experiencing other traumatic things in our lives, other bad times, other losses. Because as many of you know, when we are with the wrong people or people that we find out later that have avoidant tendencies, they leave you when something devastating happens and you're at your lowest. You need them the most and they're gone. When you are suffering from a particularly traumatic breakup, I mean one that shakes you to your core and almost makes you feel like you will never be able to trust again. It might even make you feel like you will never be able to get off your couch again. You feel alone because the person you love left you. You feel alone because the people around you at a certain point don't want to hear it anymore. And you feel alone because the faceless words on a computer screen aren't offering any kind of soothing compassion or help. Not real help. Not for what you're going through. At best, you get breakup advice that doesn't seem like it even will scratch the surface of what you're feeling on the inside. At worst, you're going to get floods of websites that are telling you how to get back with your ex, how to get your ex back, you know, the person who made you feel like this in the first place. Hello friends, my name is Maria. I had a viewer ask me, what do you do when you're going through a period of loss and you're also experiencing a breakup on top of it? The whole situation, it feels like the whole world is coming down around you and you are completely paralyzed. You feel like you can't see a way out of it. You'll never be able to move forward, and the worst part is you are exhausted all the time. I remember feeling like it's walking around wearing a weighted vest. Sometimes you barely have the strength to lift your arms up in the shower to wash your hair, if you even make it to the shower. Some of the most common breakup advice that will never help you get through a traumatic breakup includes go out on dates with other people, start a new hobby, start a new business. Start a new business. How the freak are you going to start a new business? You can't even get off of the couch. If you are tired of being tired and your soul is ready to climb your way out of this gray, icky mud that is the breakup in your life, then grab a bottle of nail polish and let's talk. I'm going to give you guys the cliff notes on the steps of what I did to get through a season of loss. But I want to kick this off by first saying, if you are watching this and you are struggling right now, it's going to be okay. You can do this. It's going to be okay. All right, the very first thing I did was acknowledge out loud that I was ready to move forward. I still felt like I loved my ex. I was still not okay with the breakup. But, you know, after a couple of years or however long it's been for you, I wasn't getting anywhere. None of the ex-back advice was working. It had been like two and a half years. Time to move on. And I just said it out loud. I said, I'm ready. And then when those intrusive thoughts come in where you think about what the relationship could be, because that's what we're mourning. We are mourning the potential of the relationship. I would stop the thought and I would acknowledge it. Because, you know, we're used to feeling ignored. We're used to feeling like our feelings don't exist. Well, acknowledge them. Give yourself what you need and say, hey, I didn't say it was okay. I didn't say that I was fine with the breakup. I just said, I'm ready to move on. And then I busied myself with something else. And every single time, no matter how many times a day those thoughts came in, I shut them down and I said, I didn't say it was all right. I didn't say it didn't suck. I just said I was ready. This next piece of advice I got from a reality TV show where a husband and a wife couldn't get past a death in their family. They had a baby that died, and I am not trying to compare a breakup to the loss of a child. I'm a mother. I get that they're two different things. But I also understand that a lot of times in a particularly hard breakup, it does feel like there's been a death. The father was grieving, and he, I guess, didn't want a funeral for the baby. And the mom said she wasn't able to move past her grief because they never had the funeral, and the funeral symbolized that something existed. When we are dumped by someone who is extremely dismissively avoidant, they begin to treat you like the relationship never happened, like they never told you they loved you, like they never promised that trip to you, like they never said that they were going to ask you to marry them, like they never told you that you were the best thing that ever happened to them. No, you text them, and if they even bother to answer you back, you get the old coworker treatment. Will do, thumbs up. It's insane and it's not okay, but you continue to reach out to them and it's pointless. They will never acknowledge that the relationship probably really did mean something to them. They're avoiding it. We have to stop looking to them for the answers. And we need to take it upon ourselves to validate ourselves and validate that we aren't crazy. The love existed. The relationship existed. You existed. And as that mother said, a funeral symbolized that something existed and now it's gone and it's a way to say goodbye. So I took an old journal that I had and I wrote out a eulogy for the relationship. And I made sure that in that eulogy, I first wanted to say that I did not agree with what they did and how they left the relationship. Because we're not going to let other people gaslight us, and we are certainly not going to gaslight ourselves. We don't deserve it. Tell them what they did was wrong. Tell them you know what they did was wrong. Don't act like you're grateful for the learning opportunity that they bestowed upon you. The only thing they did was give you both a glimpse of something that could have been incredible, and then they ran away from it. This person meant something to you. You probably saw a pretty awesome future with them. You're losing more than the person. You're losing what it could have been. But that's all right, because you're ready, we're moving forward. And then you write out a eulogy for what you were hoping would happen and tell them that, okay, it's time to release you. Now you're ready. They are no longer going to be held hostage in your mind. You release them. And then I took something that symbolized something from our relationship. In my case, it was a flower. And I picked a place outside and I literally buried it. And I read the eulogy and I held a funeral for the relationship to acknowledge that I exist. That relationship existed and it's time to move forward. Then the next thing I did is, instead of starting a grand new hobby that we don't have the emotional energy or bandwidth for, I thought back to years earlier. What hobby did I have before this relationship, maybe before any kind of real loss in my life that kind of messed me up? What did I really enjoy? What truly made me happy when I was younger? So I picked a hobby, and for 1 week, I didn't do that hobby. I probably didn't even feel like doing the hobby. But I would take like 20, 30 minutes and I would lay down and close my eyes and I would visualize myself doing the actions. Then after 1 week, I told myself, I'm going to do this for 5 minutes today. And 5 minutes was almost all I needed to remember how much I did like doing that. And the next day I did it for 5, maybe 10, just really small things moving forward. Speaking of doing small things, a big part of the reason why I was stuck was because I would start every day without a plan. My brain just could not get it together. I was completely emotionally dysregulated. It's really hard to stop those intrusive thoughts that come in, although we are going to shut them down because we're ready. Didn't say it didn't suck, but we're ready. And the other way I battled that was to basically make an itinerary for almost every single minute of my day the next day. I would make it the night before. That way, no matter what my brain was up to, no matter what kind of craziness was going on with the I miss them and I'm so sad today, didn't matter. All I had to do was look at the list I had made for myself and follow the actions on the list. It was such a relief. I didn't have to think about what do I do today or how can I get my life together. All I had to do was control my motor skills. And I followed the items on the list. This also helped me keep a clean environment around me. Environment. I thought about it, and I was waking up in a house every day that reminded me of my past, and I did not want to live in the past anymore. So I went through every single room and I switched all the furniture around. This is not a typical breakup. This is a war. These kinds of relationships change your life forever. So you're going to have to change everything to get through it. I went through my house and I cleaned out anything that made me feel negative. I mean, if you're like me, I'm never able to just throw everything away. I'm sentimental, but pack them away. Make sure you can't see it. Throw out dowdy clothes that remind you of yourself when you weren't feeling so great. It didn't happen overnight. It was like a 3-month process, but that's the point. This whole thing is a process, and it should be. This isn't some kind of hit of dopamine or retail therapy that's going to make you feel better for a few minutes, and the next day you wake up and you still feel like crap. This is about taking practical steps that will help you more in the long run. It'll help you a little bit as you go, a little bit and a little bit more. And in the long run, it will change your life, and not in the crappy way that breakup changed your life. This is going to change your life for the better. This really is about self-transformation, because the point is we want to get through this and come out on the other side stronger, learning how to protect ourselves in the dating world, learning maybe what we can do to keep ourselves out of relationships where people are going to abandon us. Not every breakup is the same. We all struggle with different mental health issues in the dating world, and if you would like to learn more about overcoming trauma so you can go out into the dating world with a happier, healthier mindset, please subscribe or share this video with someone who you know is struggling. Goodness knows I wish I had known this stuff years ago. Just because you have a business that shuts down doesn't mean you should never start another business. Just because maybe you did have a child that died doesn't mean at some point you shouldn't try to have another baby. And just because you went through a breakup that didn't work out does not mean that you should never love again. I love again. I got through it, and that's how I know you can. And of course, this video just wouldn't fit on my channel if I didn't mention that every single day I sat down at my table and I painted my nails. Just one more small thing along the journey that symbolized doing something for myself, that was showing myself that I cared about myself, and it also reminded me to stop doing self-sabotaging and harmful things like texting my ex. I painted my nails every single day, and instead of listening to videos about how to get my ex back, I started listening to people talk about how to become the kind of person who doesn't even want someone back who rejected them and walked away. I also learned about limerence. Limerence is a completely obsessive thought pattern. If you've been stuck in a breakup loop for a disproportionate amount of time, I will link a video explaining what it is down below. So I sat, painted my nails, and I learned about attachments, and I learned about limerence. You know, I was someone where my looks were always really important to me. Welcome to the other half, where we know attraction is not just about looks. You also have to take care of the inner half, because the moment something completely bowled me over in life, I lost myself, and I lost my looks in the process. I totally let myself go. I stopped getting any kind of beauty treatments done. And yeah, I learned that a big part of wanting them back was really about wanting myself back. Here's what's wild. When I was taking these steps, originally I thought it was to get over a breakup. But I didn't realize that one of the huge side effects of going through this process of getting my dignity back when I stopped texting my ex, the process of showing myself I do love myself by telling myself that I'm ready to move on, the process of validating that no matter what anybody else in this life says, how you experience those relationships did exist. The process of doing little things to begin to take care of my environment. The process of showing myself a little bit of love every day and listening to positive, motivational speakers that would help me in the future. I wasn't looking for anyone else to validate me anymore. I wasn't looking for anyone else's opinion to let me know whether or not I was going to feel good or bad about myself that day. And purely by accident, I realized that for the first time in my life, I respected myself. And people who respect themselves, they invest in themselves, they take care of themselves. And it begins to tell your brain, well, you must love this person because we take care of people that we love. If you struggle with always getting yourself into toxic and abusive relationships, the antidote to that is loving yourself. And you want to love yourself? Start by respecting yourself. And then being treated like crap by people won't even make sense to you anymore. If they don't want to spend their birthday with you, get the fuck out of here. Seriously. And I know it seems like this is going to be a terrible process, and letting go of these things and letting go of your ex is scary and it's going to be awful. But when you do come through the other side, and you will, you'll look back and you'll realize it was one of the best times of your entire life, because you were finally doing the one thing you could never do, which was just stand up for yourself, fight for yourself. It'll feel like a weird time, but it won't feel like a bad time. If anything, it will feel beautifully bizarre. By Orly. My name is Maria Adriana. You did not have to live my life, but I certainly hope you can learn something from it. As always, thank you for visiting The Other Half.